Okay, Mike. So this one is on discipline. All right, how to be more disciplined. Okay, let's do this thing. 3, 2, 1. Hi everyone, the Ask Mike Show. We are back again. Mike here as your host, and we're talking about discipline today. So one of you asked, how can I be more disciplined? And one of the things that I want to start with is by saying that discipline is something that it looks like to the outside. So someone might say, oh, you're really disciplined, you've got this, you've got that. But what people tend to forget is discipline is easy if you set yourself up that way. Discipline is easy if you give yourself a starting point that you can then build on. So a morning routine is good, but if you're starting from scratch, just pick one thing that you can do every morning and then go to 2 and then go to 3 and then go to 4. You don't go from 0 to 10 and wonder why you can't be consistent with it. So discipline is built over time, and it's actually easy to do if you build on things. Don't go from 0 to 10. Always go to 1. Pick something and then go from there. That's one of the easiest ways to start. Now, when it comes to being disciplined, one of the things that tends to come up is you've got to create the space for it. If you're busy from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, being disciplined is going to be difficult for you no matter what. Sorry about that. Edit that bit out. So you've got to remember that you've got to A, start small, and B, create the space for it. Otherwise, it's always going to be difficult. Discipline is something that's like a muscle. You grow it over time, it gets stronger, it gets easier to use, and also help other people with it as well. Being disciplined is a skill like anything else. You can learn it, but they're the two main things. And it's about being disciplined. You've got to create the space, because if you don't have time, you don't have that space available. Doesn't matter how much you force it. Doesn't matter how much you convince yourself that you just need to be more disciplined. That's just code for forcing yourself to do something. And it doesn't really help your relationship with it either. If it's too hard, you've got to force yourself to do it. You don't enjoy it. You struggle. You suffer. If you put yourself through that, long term, it's not going to be as beneficial as you might think, because life is a journey. Forcing yourself to do something isn't an enjoyable way to live. Starting small and building up as you build up your tolerance to it, you build up your discipline muscle, if you will, that's so much more better, so much more beneficial than trying to force yourself to do things that other people do. When they've had the time, they've built it up over time, they've developed the discipline over months and years and decades, some people. So you've got to also be nice to yourself around it to be able to put yourself in a position whereby you want to do it. Because desire is a real thing, but you've got to want to do it. You're more likely to want to do one thing than want to do 10 things straight away. It's a starting point that you need. Discipline is a muscle that you develop over time. It's that simple. And you treat it as a training program. Treat it as a game. You can treat it as a game. Using a lot of strategies to turn it into a game, like giving yourself a reward, giving yourself an incentive to do it, all those things, even a punishment sometimes can work. So if you don't do that, then you've got a punishment at the end. If you don't meet the goal or the target you set yourself, you've got to essentially punish yourself. That can also, despite it being quite a negative way of looking at it, that can also be quite helpful. So you've got to use how you're wired as a human, use how you're wired as a person, and use that to your advantage. And that way, discipline will be a game. Yes, it might be a difficult game to win, but a game nonetheless. That is the easiest, best, and most effective way of making discipline fun and not turning it into a stick that you use to beat yourself up with, because that's the last thing you, me, or anyone else wants. Discipline is not a stick to beat yourself up with. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Should you suffer long term? Probably not. So there's some of the things to consider. Hopefully you found this helpful. Please share it with your friends so that they can benefit as well. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And I look forward to seeing you all again on the next episode. All right. Not bad, Mike.